G'day mates, I am TheGlitched64 and well, it's Halloween, isn't it? Time for all these scares and spoops and boo and well, there aren't that many scary games on the Nintendo 64, I realised, starting my first ever Halloween project, and I'm already out of ideas.
Yeah, sorry, ain't no scares on this system, huh?
Well, the Nintendo 64 does have ports of Nightmare Creatures and Resident Evil 2, but both of those games have been talked about to death. So, instead of that, I thought I would do the top 5 scariest moments of my Nintendo 64 playing childhood, and maybe yours too. Maybe you will have experienced some of these. Keep in mind, these won't seem scary now. These are what was scary when I was a kid. Little kid. This system came out in 1996, so I got this, well, I got it in 1998, so I was 3. So think about what would scare a 4 or 5 year old, or in some of these 6 or 7, depending on which, just keep in mind that this doesn't scare me as a 22-year-old anymore, okay? Okay, great, let's start this list.
BanjoKazooie, one of my favourite games. Very light-hearted, colourful, with friendly NPCs, goofy enemies, and just such charm to it. So what you're probably expecting me to say is that Mad Monster Mansion was scary. Well, I suppose in a way it was rather dark and all that, but it still had a goofy, fun charm to its enemies, and was still pretty goofy. But what scared me was the level that came after Mad Monster Mansion, and as the entrance to, and the level, Rusty Bucket Bay. The entrance felt so bare and quiet compared to the rest of the hub, cold, grey, and open. It had a sort of grindhouse effect, looking like it'd be a good place to cut up some bodies and just let the rising water wash it all away. And this grungy and lonely feeling followed right into the level itself, with just a big open ship with almost no enemies on the outside. These ones were all waiting, lurking in the dark, damp warehouses, just to pounce. And who could forget these pipes with teeth?
Okay, so I talked about a dark, foreboding, emptiness sort of fear. But for this entry, I want to talk about more of a stressful and fun sort of fear. And there's nothing quite as ass-clenching as the sudden death mode for Bomberman 64's battle mode. Holy shit.
Yes, the battle mode of Bomberman 64. Kind of a weird thing to bring up, right? Just a silly fun game of exploding your opponents into bloody giblets until you're the last masked man standing. The fear and tension comes in, however, when there is 1 minute left, and you hear, "Hurry up!" followed by the music getting faster. This is when you knew shit was gonna go down. There were 3 things that could happen depending on the stage. The walls could start to close in, but the other 2 were where the adrenaline really started to get pumping. The first one is that meteors would just start raining from the sky, just all over the place, ready to burn you to a crisp. And the other one was that the water would slowly rise on multi-layered levels. So if you got kicked down to the lower platform, you'd better hope that that water was low enough, or you're toast.
I mean, there's not as many games that can rile you up like this. Like, I'm shaking, my blood is racing, I feel spent. Bomberman 64 battle mode. The closest thing you'll have to sex on the Nintendo 64. That was a bad joke, and I just died. I just died because of that. Okay, next one.
Okay, so I'm gonna put one cliche entry into this, and yeah, Majora's Mask. This whole game has a beautifully creepy and bare atmosphere that I could only appreciate now as an adult, but as a kid, this whole game had me on the edge of my seat. I mean,
the whole game should be on this list, but there is one part in particular that I remember scaring me as a kid pretty early on in the game, and that was... Next one. Oh! Okay, so I had some trouble figuring out what I was going to do for number 1 and number 2. And number 1's going to have to be hella scary because number 2, this is the only gaming moment that's actually made me run out of the room. I have never run out of the room scared of a game before. But this one time I did. And without context, it's probably not going to seem scary at all. So, let me give you the rundown. So, I was about 4 when I started playing Mario Party 2. and I had the game for about 3 years, and, well, let's just say as a dumb kid, I was never good at the game. Never good enough to beat all 5 stages. And for whatever reason, I kept deleting my own save data. I kept going into that place and, like, scrapping all the save data. I don't know why. It was not exactly like there was much data to scrap. All I would do is collect coins. Even though I lost, I'd play for, like, hours. So I'd keep losing, but I'd keep getting coins. Yeah, I'd keep getting coins. I'd keep buying the minigames. And then once I got all the minigames, I would delete them and do it again. I thought that was the only progression in Mario Party 2. Not very story-based, it was just a fun collection of minigames where you could collect some things for the minigames section, and that was fun. What I didn't know, 3 or 4 years later, was that there was a little bit of story progression, and holy shit, it was... Okay, wow. So, the moment I'm talking about is when you've beaten all 5 of the main maps. You unlock the 6th map, Bowser's Big Blast. Now, playing this game constantly for 3 or 4 years, I thought I'd seen everything. I deleted it so many times, restarted it, played through everything so many times. I thought that was everything. So, I'd already seen the cutscene, you know, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do, as the camera's zooming in on Toad, to start the jolly music. I'd seen that probably about 100 times or more. So, imagine my fear when the camera stops zooming in for a second, the music cuts out, Toad looks to his right at something unseen, and then that moment, okay, before the Koopas come in, just that moment, what I described to you there, 100 times you've seen this animation, you know it's all in the coding, that is what's supposed to play, so when that doesn't happen, in your tiny, childlike mind, there are only 2 things that could happen. A major glitch, or actual, like, fucking possession, because when the music stops, that's a glitch. When Toad looks to the right scared, that's not a glitch. That is scarring. And I remember that now still. As a 22-year-old man, I still remember the moment when the music stopped and Toad looked to his right at something. Although Toad is facing this way, so he technically looked to his left, but the play is right, is what I'm trying to get at. But look, I've explained it, see for yourself. Imagine my horror when playing this 100 times and then seeing this. Yeah, like I said, I still very clearly remember this, and it's definitely reason for number 2. Number 1 is Super Mario 64. But Glitch, I hear you all yelling, you said you weren't going to do any more cliched ones after Majora's Mask. Everyone's talked about the piano to death. You might as well have just talked about Resident Evil 2. That's got less coverage than this fucking piano. Well, who said I was talking about the piano?
Yes, while the piano may have been talked about to absolute death, there is one thing about Super Mario 64 that I find scarier than the piano. In fact, as a kid, I didn't find the piano that scary. I thought it was kind of funny. But what I did find unsettling when playing the game, especially in the main hub of the castle, and this feeling went on to give me nightmares, and just a conscious, anxious feeling as a kid. I'll usually run right through the hub just trying to get into the levels. This was more going up the stairs and sometimes down in the basement that I would get this feeling. And that was the feeling that someone was watching. And you couldn't see them, but they were just waiting there for you. Now, I never got 70 stars as a kid. Again, that's something I only did when I was about 9 or 10. As a small kid playing these games, BanjoKazooie I only played Mumbo's Mountain over and over again, sometimes Treasure Trove Cove. Mario Party 2 I would, play, but I'd usually lose, and with Super Mario 64 I would usually only get to about 50 stars, and then I would just reset the game and play my favorite 50 stars over and over again. That was just kind of how I played as a kid. But then when I got to the age where I actually started beating games, I got to the 70 stars. But before that point, I thought, as soon as I got 70 stars, and I don't know why I thought this, but I thought it would start me off at the main doors, right, where you first enter the castle. And I thought you had to run up the stairs, up to the 2nd floor, up to the attic where Bowser is, and go in there. And while this was happening, you would be chased by something. I don't know what. It was just like a shadow to me, like this tall shadow would be following you. and if you didn't run fast enough, you would like lose a life and get kicked out of the castle and you'd have to try again or something. But yeah, you had to go fast enough and get to the final belter. And I don't know why I thought this, but there was always this tense feeling that someone was watching me in the hub. And I feel like this might have come from the hub itself, this sort of feeling. Maybe it was a bit more bare and a bit creepier than we initially think. Sure, it's beautiful to look at now and the music is just beyond nostalgic, but I mean, as a kid, maybe it was a bit creepier. Because of how big the area was, how vast some of the areas were, and down in the basement, just there was nothing, and there was no one. It was just Mario going around this empty place, and sometimes there were toads, and that helped, but there was always this feeling I would open a door, and there would be something waiting for me on the other side, and I can never really shake that feeling. That just someone watching, waiting, and if you got too far, they'd be ready to pounce you. Happy Halloween.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys liked this video, these videos are tough to make, but it really means a lot when you guys watch them, and especially when you like them. So yeah, it lets me know that you want more of this. So if you do enjoy these, click like and maybe consider subscribing, and I can make more of these. There'll be more reviews. The only reason I want to do this is because I really want to do a Halloween episode, but I couldn't think of a scary game or a game that I could twist into being scary. Maybe next Halloween I could do that, but for now I want to do just the top 5 scary moments, even though I've only done one actual review so far. But hey, for sticking around this long, a little spoiler for the next review, it might be something that was on this list, so keep an eye out for that. It's probably not Super Mario 64 too. I'll probably mention that because who hasn't done Super Mario 64? But yes, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Peace. Ooh, we ran a little overtime.